Welcome back. It's always a thrill when Al Bina stops by from the Quincy Quarry and Granite Workers Museum to bring us up to date on what's happening. And what's happening is they actually have a museum, a structure, a permanent building in place. Al, this is a really historic moment for the museum.
Yeah. Like I say, I say to people used to come by and say, you get your little museum. When are you going to build a bigger museum? I used to say, well, when something drops out of heaven. And lo and behold, this stone house dropped out. It was like dropping out of heaven.
Pretty much, right?
Pretty much,
yeah. And I remember asking you a long time, probably 10 years now, right? That you've been pursuing this dream. What it would take, to make this dream come true. And you said it would take about $1 million. And that's about what it took to make this happen, right? Give us a little background, a little history, if you could.
Well, like I say, the stone house was located on the corner of Robinson and Willard Street.
Right.
It was the last of the actual stone houses in Quincy. Originally, there was 4 stone houses. And then when they built the expressway, naturally 3 of them were demolished. This was the last standing stone house. Again, when they were going to build a 6-story, 130-unit apartment unit. It was an outcry in the city of Quincy here. We got involved, the mayor got involved, and we got preservation money to actually move the stone house up to the Museum of the Churning Mill.
Right, almost $1 million. Right?
Almost $1 million.
Now, as the McDonald family donated it to the city, with the caveat that the city move it, right? And that's what happened. Yeah, we have actually a picture of it as it originally looked, not how it looks now,
but not how it looks
as
now,
it originally looked, and this was sitting over there in West Quincy.
Yeah, that's a picture of the stone house. So, so it's all historic Quincy granite. They actually built that house. Like I say, it's 2 stories.
Right.
Unfortunately, it was cost prohibitive to do the 2 stories up at the Churning Mill.
Yes.
We had to get stonemasons. There was a contractor that got the stonemasons in to put it together, and it's amazing the work that these stonemasons did. They were all Brazilian stonemasons.
Oh, really?
And I tell you, I watched them, and we documented just the procedure of building the whole house, and it was amazing how they could split the rocks and fit them in, and then, build this stone house.
Yeah.
We did 1 story. We couldn't do this two stories, it was cost prohibitive.
Yeah.
But what we did is we enlarged the footprint of the building, which gave us a little more room inside.
Okay, and then we started with a wood frame, right?
Started with a wood frame, yeah. People say, they come by and say, oh yeah, it's just granite. Well, no, it was an actual house, so you actually have to actually build a house and then put the granite around it.
Is that how the original one was built?
The original one, the original one was framed on the inside as a house.
Okay.
And then granite blocks around the perimeter.
So you had to clear the lot, you had to lay a foundation.
Clear the lot, lay the foundation.
Yep.
This particular site had no significant historical artifacts.
Okay.
So that's why we were able to use this particular site to the south end of the actual churning mill to build the building.
And it's right there. It's not
right.
separated at all. It's all one kind of compound. Right?
Yep.
It's just its own separate.
So there's nothing
area.
historically on this footprint of the building. So
Okay.
that's why we were allowed to build it right there.
Okay, and there we see the process.
Yeah, you can see it. You can see the actual window was actually boxed out because you remember these granite blocks are about, 1.5 feet. Some of them are 1.5 feet thick, so they actually had to box the windows out.
Yeah, I see.
And then put the granite around the building.
So the granite is like a shell around the wooden structure.
The wooden structure, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Interesting.
So we got plenty of insulation. We got those granite blocks. We got an all interior. It's been framed. It's been sheetrocked. It's been insulated. So it's a pretty well built building.
It's solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like a bomb shelter.
I kind of joke and say, the mayor says about the police station and fire administration, this is a 100-year-old building. What you're looking at right now with the granite blocks, the way they built this building will be here for 1,000 years. I don't know what else will look like in Quincy, but this building will still be there 1,000 years from now.
Well, and it's already been here, over 200 years?
Over 200 years,
Right? It's on the National Register, wasn't it?
Yes. And the also state register of historic places.
Right. Now, does it stay on the register?
That's a question.
Okay.
Now that we've actually changed the actual building itself, I don't know whether it's going to qualify.
Okay.
But it's all a historic Quincy granite.
Right.
So
that doesn't change.
That doesn't change.
Okay.
So that'll be a good point we've got to kind of research now.
Right,
Can we
'cause-
put this building back on the register?
Yeah, because so we see the final product here now. It looks different, you know,
Yeah.
than the original. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's as you say, one story.
Yeah, and the great thing about this is the roof almost looks like it's slate. It was an architectural type shingle, and it almost looks like a slate shingle, which
Yes.
which is great.
Yeah,
Give it
to
that-
blend in.
Yeah, to blend in.
So, and I would think too, with one story, you don't have to worry about accessibility, right, for a second floor.
For handicap accessibility,
Yeah.
right? We wouldn't have to put, we did the 2 stories, we'd have had to put an elevator in there.
Right.
And that would take up so much room, so much space.
And
that we-
money.
And money,
Yeah.
yeah. So again, one story, enlarge the footprint,
Mm-hmm.
give us much more room, 100% handicap accessible.
Yes.
The interior. Right now, we're waiting for the contractor to do the landscaping, which will, all the walkways will be all handicap accessible.
Make it all pretty, right?
All pretty, yeah.
But it's fully, as you say, insulated. You have HVAC system, restroom facilities. I'm
Restroom
assuming?
facilities,
Yeah,
all
so-
handicap accessible, yeah.
So fully plumbed and
Fully
ready
plumbed,
to go.
yeah, ready to go.
So does that mean to be open year round now?
It's a possibility.
Okay.
When you get heat.
Well, I
Joe,
was just
you
going to
get-
say, yeah. As long as the road's plowed, you know.
As long as Quarry Hills Drive is plowed,
Yeah.
we might be there. you
Okay,
know.
all right. So you're planning for that in the future? Is that something down the road, maybe?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's great now, we've got the area. Eventually we will line the walls with the artifacts.
Yes.
Similar to the ones we have in the little small museum, with this grid wall, what do you call
Displays.
it? Displays,
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
And then we're going to leave the center open for presentations. We're going to bring presenters in there and different presenters
In this new building.
in the new building.
Yeah.
The
The new building.
new building,
The new old building.
the
right?
new old stone building.
Right,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. We'll bring presenters in on all subjects of history.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For anybody that's interested in giving us a presentation, we'd love to have them in there.
Okay.
Once we're completely handicap accessible.
All right, all
You
right.
know.
So you really could expand your programming.
Yeah.
And I would think,
Yeah.
I know that you have many artifacts in storage, so
Yes,
an
we do.
opportunity to maybe
Yeah.
bring those out
Yeah.
and show those off too.
Yeah.
So will the original, it was basically a shed, right?
It's a shed. Yeah.
Will that stay open?
That will stay open.
Okay.
We'll design something that will leave. We'll be able to expand like our sculptors. We could have that as a just all sculptors. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
we got a lot of artifacts, a lot of the plastic models that they would have used,
Yep.
that they did use from some of the stone sheds. We can use that one building, and then we can change that every once in a while.
Sure.
Do a railroad display in there. You
Yes.
know. So
Okay, yeah, because I remember when you first opened the shed,
Yeah.
we said, oh, now the museum has a real structure.
Yeah.
Now it has a real
now it has a real structure.
home.
Real
Right.
home.
Yeah, a real home.
Yeah.
There was a ceremony recently with the mayor,
With the mayor,
kind of
yeah.
handing the keys over to
Mayor
you.
kind of handed the keys over.
Yeah.
It was kind of an informal, but now the building is completely completed now, so we kind of handed the keys over along with Granite City Partners. They had one of their representatives there too.
Yeah, if you can maybe talk about all the people involved in this process, Al.
Yeah, well, like I say, again, when it started when the McDonald family were going to build a 6-story
Yes.
unit. And then again, there was an outcry in the city of Quincy. We saved it along with help from the mayor, preservation committee, and then it was constructed up there. Like I say, and now we're there.
Yeah, who are the companies involved? in this?
John Folsom, the Folsom Construction Company.
Okay.
They were the main contractors on it.
Because you couldn't just pick it up and move it as one
Right,
whole.
right.
You had to break it down.
They
block by
actually had
block,
it
right?
block by block
Yeah.
and then reassemble it block by block.
Yeah, yeah.
What they did is they actually numbered the 4 corners of the house with numbers. And then when they reconstructed it up at the turning mill
Yeah.
in the museum, they used those 4 corners. First, they constructed the 4 corners
Okay.
using those the numbered blocks,
Yep.
and then they worked from there in.
I see. Okay.
You know.
It was quite a process. How long did it take?
Oh, it took about 6 months for the
Pretty
stonemasons
quick when you
to-
think about it, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a crew there of there was probably 5 or 6 stonemasons there at one point.
Yes.
Putting it all together.
Yep. Yeah, they had to wait for the wood frame to be completed first.
Wood frame first, yeah.
Yeah. And then have the blocks added
Then the blocks at it, yeah.
and remortared, I'm assuming.
Oh, they
every single
remortared
one?
everything, yeah. Yeah. It was a heck of a process. I mean, like I say, it was almost $1 million. But when you think of the labor cost just to put that together,
Yes.
you can see how it was justified.
Yeah,
You know?
and you mentioned Granite City Partners. How were they involved?
Granite City Partners, they were kind of they oversaw the whole project.
Okay.
You know? Joe Shea and his group,
Sure.
which they did a great job.
Excellent. Okay. And I know that you requested, when the discussion about the Quarry Hills lease extension was brought up, you requested that the museum be taken out of that process, right?
Yes, yeah. There's
So
no
it stays
50
in the city purview.
Quarry Hills is now negotiating this new 50-year lease. And I
Yeah.
asked the mayor, I says, take this historical portion
Yeah.
of the lease out and put it back into the city under
Yes.
the Department of Natural Resources.
Yep.
So they've agreed to that. So when
Okay.
this new contract that's working through the state legislature right now,
Oh, okay.
this portion will be taking out the Stonehouse, the Alliance Churning Mill, the Alliance Quarry, and all our little incendiary buildings we
Yes,
got there
yes.
will all come under the Department of Natural Resources,
Okay, all right.
which
So
will be great for us.
stays under city purview. Yeah.
Stays on city purview.
Yep. Talk about your volunteers, Al, the folks that actually greet
Yeah,
folks when they
yeah,
come to the
yeah.
museum. Yeah.
We got some 5 docents,
Okay.
that actually volunteered through a program that Bob Damon ran through the city of Quincy here. So we got them coming. When we're opened, they're not 5 of them there at the same time.
Sure.
But, 2 or 3 will be there at the same time.
Okay.
So they're learning. They're very interested in learning the history of the granite industry.
Yeah, nice. Okay, so I know that the tours they're kind of self-guided, right?
They're
But
self-guided.
the docents are there if you have questions.
Questions, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, we've got over, I want to say we got about 125 interpretive signage that are located all around the mill, in the mill, outside the mill, around the quarry area, and now a blacksmith shop.
Yeah.
We got a new little blacksmith
A
shop,
functioning blacksmith
function
shop.
blacksmith shop.
Do
Yeah,
you do demonstrations there?
we'll bring, kind of trying to bring in blacksmiths and give us demonstrations.
Yeah.
So that'll be another one, a program that we're going to do in the fall.
Okay, because there would have been a blacksmith shop in the time of the quarries, right?
Right. Yeah, and actually, the Alliance Tournament had 3 working blacksmith
Oh.
shops there to keep that whole operation going.
Sure, they had to make their own tools, fix their own tools.
Shopping their own tools.
Yes, yeah, okay. It's not, you can just run down to the hardware store and
No,
buy what you need.
There was no carbide tools back then, so those blacksmiths were very busy back then.
Absolutely, yeah.
They were a major part of the granite industry.
Yeah, it doesn't get talked about a lot either.
Right,
So,
yeah.
why is this so important to you personally, Al?
Well, personally to me, both my grandparents worked in the granite industry.
Okay.
One worked as a foreman in the Granite Railway Quarry, and the other was a blacksmith
Okay.
at one of the sheds in South Quincy here. And when I retired, I said, I got to be doing something. I says, I'd either be down bagging your groceries or stop and shop, or let's see if we can start this history. And so I says, well, starting the history is a lot better than bagging your groceries. So that's my retirement job.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's probably kept you busier than when you were working.
Yeah.
I would guess. What did you retire from, by the way?
I retired from Northeastern University in chemical engineering.
Is that right?
I was a technician. I had a nice little machine shop. I built all their research equipment
Oh,
and also worked with the students on all their projects.
okay.
That was one of the greatest jobs I had, Joe. It wasn't a morning I got up for 23 years and said, gee, I don't want to go to work,
Is that
because
right?
it was so great working with the kids and working with the research people,
Yeah.
So when you can say that about a job, you had a great job.
Yeah. Do you try and inspire young folks of today to learn about the history of the quarry industry?
That's what we try to do. We try to get more young people involved
Right.
in this history, So we're gonna try to get into more of the school. The fourth and fifth graders are really, they're starting to study, I think, the history of Quincy.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to attract them. We're going to approach the public school system to say, hey, bring up, we'll put on demonstrations,
Sure.
stone splitting. We'll let the actual kids split the granite. We pre-drill blocks and put the feather and wedge. They put the feather and wedges in, and then they split the granite.
Yeah.
So we're going to offer that to the school kids of the city of Quincy.
Okay. Yeah. I think.
Hopefully, the school administration will say, "Gee, that's a great idea. Let's try it."
Yeah. Okay. It's not,
So we're going to reach out this
it's
year.
a non-electronic pastime,
Non-electronic,
right?
right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's history of their city.
It's their city, yeah.
That they live in, yeah. We have a little video you want to show folks.
Sure.
Just kind of the inside and outside of the Granite House to give them a sense for what it looks like.
What it looks like, yeah, great.
And it looks beautiful. It really does. I mean, they just did an amazing job making it pretty.
Right, that's the actual main entrances.
Beautiful day there when they were shooting this video.
Shooting this,
is
yeah.
The city provided this, I should mention. Yeah.
This is the actual interior. What I've done is all of these pictures are like 2 by 3 foot pictures.
Yeah.
They're just temporarily in there until we get the grid wall system.
There's the leftover.
There's our leftover granite.
Yes.
We're going to do the amphitheater with.
Ah.
You know.
There's the original museum.
Here's the new blacksmith shop.
Oh,
the
okay.
working
There's the
blacksmith
forge
shop.
right
yeah,
there.
the forge right there.
Okay.
Donated by the Cantelli family.
Oh, very good. And all that looks like the tools as well.
Tools, yeah.
Did they donate those as well?
They donated all the tools there. All
Okay.
the blacksmith tools were donated. Their grandfather worked he was a blacksmith.
Yeah. Okay. Here's your
There's
rail
the
car.
rail car. It's interesting. In the new landscaping, there's going to be a platform built for the rail car and also like a post and beam covering over the rail car.
There's the inclined plane right there,
Is
as you
it-
saw, and one of the
One
quarries,
of the
right?
quarries, one of the early quarries.
Now, this is a replica, right?
This is a replica built in 1825 for
Okay.
the 100th anniversary of the Granite Railway. 1826 to 1820 to 1926, 1925. It was built by the Scamble Company here in Quincy. They used to build. Eventually, they ended up building truck bodies, but they used to build wagons, and they actually built that replica back in 1925 for the
Okay.
Granite Railway Company
Okay, so it's-
for their 100th anniversary.
I was going to say it's old already.
Already,
but it's not the original.
Yeah, not
It's-
the
It's a
original, right.
replica.
A
Yeah,
replica,
okay.
yeah.
And that'll be on display
That's on display right now,
at the
sure.
museum as well. So rail enthusiasts might be interested. in
That's
that.
what we're trying to reach out to, the rail enthusiasts,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah. What's the history of that? The inclined plane, Al?
The inclined plane, well, the inclined plane was built in around 1826
Okay.
to actually bring granite down from Pine Hill Ledge down to the first commercial railroad. People get confused. They think the inclined plane was the first railroad. That was just to bring granite down from the Pine Hill Ledge to the actual
Okay.
first commercial railroad in America, the Granite Railway.
Okay.
First incorporated commercial railroad in America.
So the inclined plane was just like a spur,
It was
basically.
like a spur. They brought granite down
Yeah.
from the hill
Okay.
to the Granite Railway,
Okay.
the original Granite Railway.
And from there it went off to
Off to down in the Pauset River. Yeah.
to build
To build the Bunker Hill
Bunker Hill
Monument,
Monument
to build
and
all the buildings, yeah.
all kinds of things. Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So that's going to be part of the history as well then.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We're documenting the whole history of the granite industry, including the deaths, including the recreational end of it. Eventually the quarry filled in with water, and now it became a swimming pool.
That's right.
A lot of deaths, but we're actually recording those and saving those, because it's all part of the granite history here in Quincy.
Absolutely.
That's the unfortunate part of the granite history, because there was a lot of lives lost in quarrying and actually in the recreational end of it,
It
too.
was very dangerous, right? It was
It was a
very
dangerous job,
profession,
yeah.
And then the aftermath as well, as you
Yeah.
mentioned too. So that's all part of it.
Part of it, yeah.
Life magazine, I think, captured a famous image of
Yeah, we
kids
have
diving into the
that
quarries. yeah.
1938 cover of the Life magazine.
Sure.
That quarry was located off of Quarry Street,
Okay.
up where the High Point apartments are located right
Oh,
now.
yes, yes. So right now the museum is open first weekend of every month, is that right?
First full weekend
First full weekend.
each month, and also the third Saturday each month
Oh,
now,
okay. Which is tomorrow.
which is tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah,
So open tomorrow.
open tomorrow.
And then, so that'll be Labor Day weekend, actually, the next
Probably Labor Day weekend, yeah.
first weekend, okay. And just free, right? Free admission?
Free admission. We just love to get people in there and just let them learn the history of the granite industry in
Yeah.
Quincy. What really built Quincy? Turn of the century, it was the largest industry in the city of Quincy.
Mm.
You know, brought all those wave of immigrants over here.
Yeah, doesn't get talked about as much as like the shipbuilding history, you know,
Yeah.
but it certainly came well before that,
Before that,
and
yeah.
probably led to part of it as well.
Definitely, yeah.
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 You mentioned an amphitheater in the future?
Well, like I say, we had a lot of granite blocks.
I saw
left
the
over.
pile there, yeah.
And we're proposing, we're going to try to, once it's landscape, we'll have the contractor work, we're going to try to make like an amphitheater,
Okay,
an outdoor amphitheater. You know,
Okay.
placing all those nice square blocks that people can sit on in a kind of a semicircle. And again, that's why I mentioned to you earlier, they're demolishing the old compressor building here in Quincy. The DCR is demolishing it, and there's some historic granite along the base, and also the lintels over the door, and also the stairs. We want to save all of that granite here because it's all Quincy historical granite.
Good reason to have you come back, Al, and bring us up to date on how that's going.
Definitely, yeah. We're going to have to stay right on top of that.
All right. Hey, I always enjoy talking to you, and you deserve more credit than you get for what you've done here, for sure.
Well, Joe, I enjoy coming on here every time with you. You know what I mean?
It's our pleasure, and we'll see you soon.
Yes. You know what I say?
Go ahead.
Don't take it. We're chipping away at it, but don't take it for granted.
We'll leave it there.
Leave it there.
Thanks a lot, Al.